Reading 11 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teachings of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll, Volume 1. Birdlip, July 16th, 1941. Concept of conscience in the work. Consciousness and conscience are similar in their respective spheres, one being in the intellectual center, the other in the emotional center. Consciousness is knowing altogether. Conscience is feeling altogether. Conscience. As you know, in the experiment of religion, as a means of conveying teaching from conscious to sleeping humanity, one of the sources of failure is that each person sets up his own dogma as absolute truth, and so people persecute, despise, and kill each other in the name of God. They may do so very earnestly and say they act from conscience, but this is false or mechanical conscience and is formed in personality. This false or acquired conscience is not based on inner understanding. It is related to false personality, and so to feeling merit, and therefore feeling that one is right and better than others, and that others who have different religious beliefs are inferior or wicked and contemptible and worthy to be killed. The difference between real conscience and mechanical or false conscience is that real conscience is the same in all men and speaks, as it were, the same language. Mechanical or false conscience is different in different people, according to their nationality, upbringing, customs, forms of belief, etc. If all men could awaken, real conscience would speak in them all, and they would agree with one another because it would speak in the same way to everyone. Real conscience exists in everyone, but is buried and so out of reach. Personality has grown over it, and as a result, our feelings, our sense of ourselves, has shifted to personality. Therefore, to feel altogether is impossible and indeed would be unendurable as we are. To feel altogether would mean that we were one, but personality is divided into little bits, as it were. The fundamental thing to grasp about personality is that it is multiple. For this reason, you now feel in one way, and now in another way, but separately and not together, and without even remembering. Just as you think now in one way, then in another, or behave now in one way and then in another. And to all this shifting kaleidoscope within you, you say, I. That is, you imagine you are one person. As long as a man takes himself as one person, he will never move from where he is. To awaken to conscience, you must begin to see the contradictions in yourself. But if you try to see contradictions in yourself, taking yourself all the time as one person, you will get nowhere. Indeed, you will stand in your own way, and instead of stepping aside, will create an impossible situation. It would be just as if you believed everything you saw in front of you was a part of your body. What especially prevent a man from seeing contradictions in himself are buffers. In place of having real conscience, a man has artificial conscience and buffers. Behind everyone there stand years and years of a wrong and stupid life, of indulgence in every kind of weakness, of sleep, of ignorance, of pretense, of lack of effort, of drifting, of shutting one's eyes, of striving to avoid unpleasant facts, of constant lying to oneself, of abuse and blaming of others, of fault-finding, of self-justifying, of emptiness, of wrong talking, and so on. As a result, the human machine is dirty and works wrongly. Not only this, but artificial appliances have been created in it due to its wrong way of working. And however a person may wish to wake up and become another person and lead another life, these artificial appliances interfere very much with his good intentions. They are called buffers. Like the contrivances on railway carriages, their action is to lessen the shock of collision. But in the case of buffers in man, their action is to prevent two contradictory sides of himself from coming into consciousness together. Buffers are created gradually and involuntarily by the life around us in which we are brought up. Their action is to prevent a man from feeling conscience, that is, from feeling altogether. For example, very strong buffers exist between our likes and dislikes, between our pleasant feelings towards someone and our unpleasant feelings. To break a buffer, it is necessary to observe oneself over a long period and remember how one felt and how one is feeling. That is, it is necessary to see on both sides of a buffer together, to see the contradictory sides of oneself that are separated by the buffer. Once a buffer is broken, it cannot form again. Buffers make a man's life more easy. They prevent him from feeling real conscience. But they also prevent him from developing. Inner development depends on shocks. Only shocks can lead a man out of the state he is in. When a man realizes something about himself, he suffers a shock. But the presence of buffers in him will prevent him from realizing anything. For buffers are made to lessen shocks. The more a man observes himself, the more likely will it be for him to begin to see buffers in himself. The reason is that the more you observe yourselves, the more you will catch glimpses of yourselves as a whole. If you observe different moments of your lives, after a time you catch a glimpse of yourself over a period altogether. That is, your consciousness of yourself increases. But first, you must try to observe everything in yourself at a given moment. The emotional state, thoughts, sensations, intentions, posture, movements, tone of voice, facial expression, and so on. All these must be photographed together. This is full observation, and from this begin three things. 1, a new memory of oneself. 2, a complete change in the conception one previously had of oneself. 3, the development of inner taste in regard to the quality of what one is observing internally. For instance, by inner taste you can recognize that you are lying or in a negative state without difficulty, although you are justifying yourself and protesting you are not. Here, the whole thing turns upon whether you possess inner sincerity or not. If not, then best to give up the work. Inner taste can be said to be the faint beginning of real conscience, because it is something that recognizes the quality of one's inner state. Self-observation and inner taste are not the same, but may coincide. The more you understand the work, the more it is arranged rightfully in your mind, and its meaning seen, the more does it pass into real conscience. It is something said that if we had real conscience, the work would be unnecessary, for we would know it already.